Hello and welcome to the Street Crime UK YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Today we look at the operation which the gang had worked hard to conceal was eventually busted after a thorough investigation by police officers. 5 members of an undercover drugs gang which sold huge amounts of cocaine out of an auction house have been jailed. The auction facility was used to store Class A substances before they were shipped out in a discreet operation. As a way of concealing the project and laundering the profits made by the gang, expensive watches and even luxury cars were raffled off in an attempt to put up a front. At Bolton Crown Court, 5 members of the gang were handed a combined jail term of more than 35 years for their roles in the conspiracy. The discreet and well-planned operation occurred within an auction house in Wigan and was believed to have been set up in October of 2018. The property, home to gang members Joshua Hill and Scott Round, was used to package and process the cocaine before it was delivered to the auction house, the court heard. Prosecutor Jamie Hamilton said Mr. Round and another man, Craig Walsh, would make regular trips between the 2 locations. The drugs were then stored in a scrapped Ford Mondeo in a yard of the auction house, before being supplied in wholesale quantities to others who would in turn sell on to others and to perhaps end users. Multiple mobile phones and EncroChat devices were used by those involved in the operation, the court was told. After Mr. Hill was sent to prison for cultivating cannabis in May 2019, he continued to play an operational role in the conspiracy using a mobile phone from his cell. The operation was eventually busted following a surveillance operation by Greater Manchester's Police Serious and Organised Crime Group as part of Operation Billabong, targeting drug supply in the region. Officers swooped on the property in Leader Street in September 2019 and found a hydraulic press, compression blocks, bulking agents and empty packaging. The empty wrappings were said to be consistent with having been used to package 1 kilogram blocks of compressed cocaine. Police used a key found at Mr. Round's home to open the Mondeo outside the auction house and found a 125-gram package of cocaine. A property in Church Street, Standish, which gang members had used to grow cannabis, was also searched. Officers found 81 plants with a street value of up to £68,000. Nick Clark, representing Mr. Round, described him as a talented individual who had become involved in the operation in order to fund his own drug habit. He is both a plumber and a registered gas engineer. He is also qualified as a plasterer. He has significant talents. Mr. Clark added, during the course of his 20s, this was his life, sadly. In his early 30s, he suffered a serious injury to his shoulder, which meant he was unable to work. This led to depression and drug taking and supplying in order to feed his own habit. He added that Mr. Round was simply following instructions from others and had not made any financial benefit from his involvement in the operation. Frank Varden, representing Mr. Hill, told the court his client's role had been to operate phones and collect money. He said he had paid a significant price for his offending. Adam Brown, representing Mr. Walsh, said his client was a qualified electrician but became involved in the drugs ring after falling on hard times in early 2019. He was heavily using cocaine and would run up a debt that needed to be paid, he added. Scott Round, 33, of Leader Street, Wigan, was jailed for 10 years after pleading guilty to charges of conspiring to supply cocaine, conspiracy to produce cannabis, and driving while disqualified. Joshua Hill, 32, also of Leader Street, Wigan, was jailed for 9.5 years after admitting conspiracy to supply cocaine. Cameron Jones, 22, of Ormskirk Road, Wigan, was sentenced to 8.5 years behind bars after pleading guilty to conspiracy to supply cocaine. Mr. Jones also admitted wounding with intent following an incident at a bar in Bolton Town Centre in May 2019, when he threw a glass at a woman, leaving her with permanent scarring to her head. Craig Walsh, 35, of Southern Street, Wigan, was jailed for 7 years and 8 months. He previously pleaded guilty to charges of conspiring to supply cocaine, conspiracy to produce cannabis, and driving while disqualified. Passing sentence, Judge Martin Walsh said all 4 men had played a significant role in the conspiracy. Street dealer Adam Tempest, 34, of Dickinson Street, Wigan, was also ordered to serve 3 years in prison after admitting conspiracy to supply cocaine. 2 other men have already been locked up for their roles in the operation. Aaron Parkin, 33, was jailed for 9 years after a judge heard he played an organised and leading role in the conspiracy. Meanwhile, Thomas Kavanagh, 36, was previously sentenced to 4 years in prison but has already served his sentence. Detective Chief Inspector Tony Norman of GMP's Serious and Organised Crime Group said, "Today's results is a success for the investigation team that have worked tirelessly to make sure that these men have been taken off the streets of Greater Manchester and are no longer able to contribute to the devastating drugs trade that sees communities living in fear and people's lives destroyed." This was a well-funded group of criminals who used encrypted mobile devices which utilize increasingly sophisticated technology to attempt to hide messages from police. These devices are almost exclusively used for criminal activity, but our specialist officers were unable to infiltrate these devices to recover crucial evidence which helped convict these people. I hope today's sentences sends a strong message to anyone involved in this type of crime that we will catch up with you and do all we can to see that you are brought to justice. So what are your thoughts about this undercover drugs operation and how the drugs gang had worked hard to ensure their privacy to flood Wigan and surrounding areas with Class B and Class A drugs from an auction house building? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, stay safe.